Ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? It's the Chillmeister Chris Gary, and you are watching and listening to another Focus Fights audio interview. And as the Rising Fighting Federation attracts more and more competition from outside of Japan, just to keep in mind, as of the time of this recording, we are hours away from Ryzen Landmark 13 from the Marine Messe Arena in Fukuoka, and it'll have 10 different fighters from 9 different countries competing inside the green cage. Get your pay-per-view now at Ryzen.tv if you haven't already. But the world is starting to open up a little bit more to the superior rule set. In one of these parts sits a fighter ready to pounce on whoever steps foot in front of him. This fighter is the current Cage Fury FC featherweight champion who stands in at 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighs in at 146 pounds, and hails from the Philly side of Jersey, more specifically Cherry Hill Township, New Jersey, USA. He will be facing off against Koyomi Matsushima at Ryzen 53 on May 10th at the G Lion Arena in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan. Introducing my guest at this time, Korean Thunder, Ryan Kim Cafaro. Ryan, how you doing? How's training?
Fantastic. You nailed the introduction. Pronunciation perfect. 10 out of 10. Couldn't be happy.
Well, thank you. I try to do my best when it comes down to stuff like this.
Yeah, perfect.
But
yeah, I feel great. Training camp is going great. I was already getting in shape for the beginning of April. So I was looking at actually fighting next week on the CFFC card to defend my title in Philly. And that was it was probably, honestly, if I wasn't going to get a call anywhere, that was probably going to be like my retirement fight. And then, because the goal was always to go somewhere. And if I wasn't going to go anywhere, then I was going to go out on top. And then I got once I actually got the flu and pulled out of that fight at the end of, I think, March.
mm-hmm.
And then when they offered, and then I got over the flu, started training again. And then my manager, Brian Butler, called me and said, "Hey, you're in. Ryzen wants you." And I was like, "Oh my God." So then it was like, "All right, we're all in. Let's go."
And you know what? That would disqualify me from asking, when Brian Butler gave you the call saying, "Hey, would you like to fight for Ryzen and fight outside of the United States for the first time?" What came to mind? But I'm pretty sure when you got that call and you basically did some thinking and all of that, you probably thought, "Hey, you know what? This is my first time fighting outside of North America. Might as well think about making the best of it."
I mean, there was no thought. It was as soon as they said Ryzen wants you, I was like, "When? I'm in." And I had said yes before they even offered me an opponent. So they were like, "Hey, we didn't tell you who you're fighting yet." I said, "I don't care." I was like, "I'm fighting in Ryzen." So is it Risen or Ryzen? I keep hearing both.
I mean, some people pronounce it as Risen, like same way of saying charisma, but it's really pronounced Ryzen.
I like Ryzen. Ryzen sounds better, less trendy, TikTok-ish. I don't like Riz. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If anything, when you think of how to pronounce it, just think of a phoenix coming up from the ashes.
Exactly. Thank you. That's what I prefer. So I just wanted to confirm because I've heard both. So I'm calling it Ryzen. I don't care. But yeah, so I was offered the fight against Koyomi Matsushima. I had already said, I was like, I don't care who you're offering me. I was ready to go fight some 20-0 undefeated guy in Japan because that's honestly what I expected. And the fact that they offered me an opponent with a similar record, similar age, similar height, I was like, wow, this is a nice treat for me. So I was like, let's do it.
And I mean, come to think of it, as you stated in a few videos that you posted on your social platforms, you are of Korean American descent. So what does this fight mean to you, considering the fact that you'll get the opportunity to fight in Asia for the first time?
I mean, this is grade A, top tier bucket list stuff as a fighter, especially as somebody that grew up watching. My generation was the guys that were starting to, like, I was on the Sherdog forums arguing about Pride was better than UFC or vice versa. You know what I mean? So like that kind of dates me as how old I am, but it's I mean, to get to fight in basically the resurgence of Pride, and if I can be in any way, shape, or form um, an ambassador to elevate, rise into a new height, and to kind of bring back what I would consider to be the golden age of MMA. It's just such an amazing opportunity, and I'm all for it.
I see. And you know what? I just have to ask, considering the fact that you say your fandom goes all the way back to the old Show Dog forums, caring about, Pride FC, being a fan of that. I mean, what drove you to want to fight in Rising? Are you aware of the difference between fighting under what I would call the superior rule set under, or rather than that, the superior rule set instead of unified rules? I'm sorry, I'm just having a brain fart
No, I
here.
know exactly what you mean with the soccer kicks and the 4-point knees. Yeah, yeah. I was very well aware of what I was getting into, or maybe not so much, to be honest. Once I signed up and agreed, they were like, it's knees and kicks to the head. I was like, yeah, yeah, sure. And then once I started training knees and kicks to the head, I was like, oh, it's not. This is not just you just add it into your game. This completely changes the dynamic of a lot of things. Changes the dynamic of how I shoot takedowns. Changes the dynamic of how I get up from my back, about how I throw up submission attempts. How I defend submissions. It's not a lot of. I don't have a lot of normal opportunities when someone tries to leg lock me to how do I say it? To stomp a motherfucker out. So yeah, so it's been a very interesting. It's been an interesting adjustment to my style.
Understood, understood. And I mean, to be honest, when it comes down to fighters, obviously thinking, oh, you know what, Rising's below me, let me go ahead and still think about having those UFC dreams. But if you were to give a reason why fighters from this part of the world, North America, more specifically the United States and Canada, should want to come to fight in Rising, what would that reason be? I mean, you can make it a sentence or just a word.
Well, I mean, I would give you. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, for number, I guess the number one reason would just be like you just have respect and creative liberty. I mean, like you can still get your own sponsors. You can still um there's still I just feel like Ryzen appreciates you for who you are as a fighter still. I just feel like the UFC is at a point now where they're just cookie cuttering and windmilling opportunities and events. You know what I mean? Like every event seems the same with a bunch of fighters that I don't know or have heard of. And it's just like, it just feels like the essence and the spirit of it are like almost dead, if that makes sense. It's kind of sad to say, but it's just like there's no the magic is gone from the UFC. It just feels like cookie cutter after cookie cutter after cookie cutter. And then
I hate to interrupt, even though it's kind of my thing, but
oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
basically because of the fact that they treat every fight like it's just, oh, it's the biggest fight in the world. Then it just turns out to be overproduced hype.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even that, but it's like the way they even announce the fights. It used to be they would have cool press conferences and stuff like that. Like look at how Ryzen and the president of Ryzen promotes their events. Like they rent out arenas to announce fights and stuff like that. And when you look at it, now, it's just in the UFC, it's just Dana White behind a whiteboard going, "What's up, guys?" You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, like that's cool, I guess, but not really.
I mean, it would have been cool like 10 years ago just to basically do that with all the success of The Office and stuff like that. But still, though, there's only so many times you could just write names down on a chalkboard or write names down on a whiteboard and say, hey, here's what's going to happen here. Here's where it's going to take place. Here's where you're going to watch it and blah, blah, fucking blah.
Yeah, it just feels like a lack of effort. It feels like a company that is already making its money on the back end no matter what. So no matter what they do, they don't care.
Yeah, of course. But
And then to add on to that, since I've signed with Ryzen and since my fight has been announced in Japan, I have not had a single negative interaction with a single Japanese fan. Not one. No one has made fun of my age. the fact that I have losses on my record, has suffered adversity in a fight. The usual things that you would hear on the Instagram comments, like, who is this bum? This bum sucks. You know what I mean? So it's like, when have been dealing with that my whole career, and I think I have a respectable record of 14-6. I've fought very tough opponents, and so, like, when I go from, the usual stuff, you're a bum, you're old, you'll never make it to the UFC, blah blah blah, and then I have nothing but Japanese fans being like, I am rooting for you and I hope you do well in your fight and stuff like that. I'm like, why would I ever want to fight here in America again? Why would I want to deal with this? You guys don't deserve my effort.
I mean, in a way, it's like they put up a sign at the zoo saying, don't feed the animals. It's like, don't feed the trolls. Basically, it's like, if you fighting on a card, or let's just say, if this were the UFC and you were fighting as a short notice competitor, they'd be like, oh, who the fuck is this guy?
Exactly.
Let's bag on him because of the fact that he has more credible losses than wins.
Yeah. So that's the way that it is, but that's the unfortunate culture of American combat sports fandom. It's sad and it's lame, and I don't like it. And now that I've gotten the opportunity to see the other side of it on the other side of the world, I honestly have no interest in fighting in the UFC. I don't have any interest in fighting in America ever again, if this continues the way it's going.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. But when it comes down to your record, it's like you said, you're currently 14-6 with 11 finishes and 1 no contest. And you're currently riding a 3-fight winning streak with 2 of those 3 wins by way of knockout. Let's just say, matching up, you and Koyomi Matsushima have the same number of fights almost. But how would you say your finishing style matches up with Koyomi, whose win rate is basically mostly comprised of knockouts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, if you look at my record, the majority of my wins are by submission. But in this past year in particular, I've always been known as a striking coach, and I just feel like I've never really been able to put it to practice in my fights. Although a lot of the time it was, I hurt people, they shoot, and then I submit them. So a lot of times, just because I'm winning by submission doesn't mean I'm not letting my hands go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like, but I do feel like that this is a very, very evenly matched fight on paper. He's, I believe, 15-7 with 10 finishes, and I'm 14-6 with 11 finishes. So this is a, prolific finisher versus prolific finisher fight. And I would be very surprised if this fight goes the distance in one way or another. But I just feel like that his power comes from his right hand. My power comes from my left hook. So it's going to be like, unstoppable force versus immovable object sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting clash. And I refuse to let this be a boring feeling each other out fight. I would rather walk into the fire and suffer some damage than let this fight be boring.
Basically, you would rather let it be a striker's paradise rather than be a grapple fuck session.
Correct. But the thing is about in Japan is that they appreciate grappling transitions. They appreciate the ground art as well. So as long as I just don't lay and pray, if I take them down and, look to do active damage on the ground and look for submissions and they appreciate it, I'm all for going to the ground too. Because if you do watch Matsushima's fights, he is a very good wrestler. He's got great takedowns. I believe he trains with like some of the Japanese Olympians or has trained with the Japanese national team for wrestling. I could be wrong on that, but that based on my deductions from what I've scouted on his social media.
I see. And let's just say if you do watch film or if you do study tape, so to speak, what would you say are some of the pros and cons about Koyomi Matsushima?
I would say from a pro standpoint is he's very calm, he's very patient. And when he does go, he goes hard and it's explosive. I feel like he lacks volume. I feel like he's more of like a one pot shot kind of guy. But when he does land, if he hits you, you go down a lot of the time. So I just feel like if I can push a pace on him and force him to fight beyond his means, I really feel like that I can, rev the gas and really put it on him for the entirety of the 3 rounds and try to melt him before he gets out of there.
Understood. Now, going back to your run in Cage Fury, obviously for many it's the promotion where fighters like Kimbo Slice came from and Makoto Shinryu Takahashi won the flyweight title there. But as an 11 fight veteran of and champion of Cage Fury, what would you say has been the best experience about competing in that promotion aside from having guys like TJ DeSantis and CM Punk commentate your fights?
Um, I would say just getting the from for the let's see, in the sense of I really got elite tier competition in there. I had opportunities to fight very, very tough opponents, and I managed to beat tough opponents. And that I never wanted to fight these these crumb bums that are 0-5, 0-6, or that are on like a multi-fight losing streak. If you look at like Tommy McMillan in the UFC, one of his fights, he fought a guy on a 14 fight losing streak on the regional circuit. That's embarrassing. I would rather die than fight somebody on a 14 fight losing streak. It's the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard in my life. But so with CFFC, they gave me the opportunity to test myself against the elite of the regional competition scene. And I mean, before I got signed to Ryzen, I was getting we were looking at opponents from Contender Series. I almost had a fight with UFC vet Kai Kamaka. So there were some serious opportunities to like really test myself, because once I became the champion, I was like, I'm not here to, I obviously got to defend my belt against Justin Patton, who I had a history with. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm not going to stay around forever. So let's go after big guys that are going to get the UFC's attention. And if I'm not going to get the opportunity, then I'll call it a day. But I really wanted to go for it. You know what I mean? And the CFFC gave me that opportunity to fight elite fighters.
I see. And I mean, come to think of it, whether it be Cage Fury or Ryzen, would you say that more promotions like these are needed to boost future fight sports talent? Especially considering all of what's going on with the UFC, and then you have the PFL, you have that damned one championship, and all their hyperbole. But still, though, just to ask that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think One Championship is a phenomenal kickboxing organization and should stay that way. But in terms of, I do think that organizations like CFFC, I think that they have the opportunity to continue to grow and get bigger and bigger. And I mean, obviously, they do act as a feeder organization to the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
They're on UFC Fight Pass, and they do a phenomenal job of sending elite talent to the UFC. Paul Felder, Jared Gordon, Caitlin Chukagian, Aljamain Sterling, the who's who of elite UFC fighters have gone through the CFFC gauntlet. But I just feel like there's still opportunity for something like CFFC to grow even bigger than that. I mean, every time I competed for them, they were usually selling out at the Borgata in Atlantic City, or they were selling out other casinos at the Hard Rock and AC. So and I just feel like there always needs to be competition, especially because you don't want a sport to be a monopoly. If the UFC is the only place people want to go, it's just bad for business, and it just lets the UFC pick and choose how they want to operate. So there needs to be competition for our sport to maintain its health and wellness, if that makes sense.
I mean, come to think of it, the same thing could possibly happen with boxing when it comes down to this Ali Revival Act stuff.
Disgusting.
Very disgusting. But still, though, it's like you said, and I can agree on this as well. The only reason why I've been a fan of the Rising Fighting Federation these last 10 years is because I didn't want to be, dumbed down, so to speak, as a fight fan by having UFC slop delivered to me every fucking weekend. Variety's the spice of life. Just basically watching different fight promotions, or in my case, different fight cards, gives me the opportunity to expand my palette, so to speak.
I agree, and it's like if the UFC was serving top tier grade A omakase style, I'd be all for it. But they're giving us cafeteria slop in these Apex fights, and it's just disrespecting the legacy of some of these things. Like look at the fight they're doing between Manel Kape and Kyoji Horiguchi.
Yeah,
that fight's almost 20,000 seats in Japan, and they're rematching in the Apex.
Don't even get me started on that shit.
Come on, son. Like, come on. What are we doing here? That's embarrassing.
Of course.
Like, whoever set that up in the UFC should be fired immediately.
Not only fired, blacklisted.
There you go.
Although, there's no fucking way you should be putting a 20,000. And you should be. There's no fucking.
It's just bad business, man. It's just bad business. It's just low effort. It's low effort. I don't appreciate it.
I mean, as a fighter, if you were given the opportunity to fight, I mean, I know this would be an obvious answer, but if you were given the opportunity to say, hey, I want to fight in front of 20,000 seats rather than just 100 of my closest friends, would that be an opportunity that you would suggest to others?
Like again, it's kind of a no-brainer here. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of question is that? It's blatantly obvious. Of course, I'm going to go fight in front of 20,000 fans. That's what this is like the kind of stuff that I've dreamed of. Like the G Lion Arena I'm fighting in next month seats 10,000. And I'm on this smack dab in the middle of the main card. You know what I mean? This is like, it's all the stuff that I've like envisioned when I was in my room doing push-ups, watching Robbie Lawler highlights on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like
now, those Robbie Lawler highlights of him in Hawaii?
I mean, like old school, like this is like circa 2005, like pre second UFC run, pre Strikeforce run, to give you an idea how old I am.
Yeah, I understand. Those were definitely in those Super Brawl days in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
But still, though, I get what you mean. A lot of people would dream of wanting to fight in front of 10,000, somewhere in the range of 10 to 50,000 seats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a damn shame that, over the last decade, since the UFC has had this uniform policy and now have had the whole Apex thing of these tiered shows, it's like quality is just lost. And I'm not trying to basically disparage that because, Cage Fury fought at the 2300 Arena and everybody remembers the 2300 Arena as being the world's most famous bingo hall, but still don't.
I mean, in its defense, it was known as the old ECW Arena at one point. So.
Yeah, it was. And that arena can tell you a hell of a lot of stories.
Yeah, so, I mean, I fought there plenty of times as an amateur as well for other organizations, so... I do kind of have a fond memory of that place in particular, especially because in my last 3 fights, the first knockout of the year that I scored against Ricardo Fuentes was at the 2300 Arena, and that was one of probably my most favorite fight of my career so far.
Mm-hmm. But I asked this: being a fighter from Philly or South Jersey, what's the misconception you get from people who try to compare your style to somebody else?
You mean from like someone in my area or from like a different part of the country?
A different part of the country or a different part of the world, so to speak.
I mean, I just think like what people assume about the East Coast, Philly, Jersey area is pretty accurate. Like we all have that, the majority of us have that willingness to scrap and just fight like Philly hood boxing, nitty gritty, dirty, just get in there and rumble a little bit. But then, from the Jersey side of us and the Pennsylvania side of us, a lot of us are elite wrestlers. I would not consider myself an elite wrestler, but I have trained and I wrestled in high school and in junior college. So I've been around wrestling for a long time. And even though I don't consider myself elite, I when I was in college, when I was in high school, I took 3rd place in districts. So it goes districts, then regions, then states. So I never even made it to regions. I lost my first match in regions. I never even made it to states. In college, I went against a guy who had placed like 3rd in the state in Vermont, and I trashed him. And I was kind of like, wow, this is like the best Vermont has to offer. You know what I mean? So it's like even the lamest wrestlers from Jersey and PA are wavelengths above anything else on the other sides of the country for the most part, aside from places like New York and, like Oklahoma and, Iowa, things like that.
I mean, to be honest, I can't really fault about anything in Vermont, considering all they got is 13 colonies history, catamounts, and scenery. But
yeah, so again, I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying there's levels to it, especially from a state to state.
Mm-hmm. And that would probably disqualify me from asking about you being a trainee of Nick Catone, but training under his camp and learning the whole nuances of the fight game. It's probably taught you a lot of things about, the grind of being a fighter, but also the grind of being an overall person, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I represent Nicotone MMA, but I definitely am part of the affiliation of like Frankie Edgar, Dante Rivera, all the guys in the Jersey Shore area. We're all pretty close knit. Like Frankie Edgar's gym is probably 8 miles from Nicotone's gym, um, and so definitely being around our group of people in particular, like we definitely go harder than the average gym, I would say. And a lot of us probably, if anything, we go a little too hard, almost to a fault, where like sometimes we have to know when to pull the reins back a little bit. But it's also hard to do so when Frankie Edgar's running practice, being like, come on, go, pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean, especially when you got a world class fighter in Frankie Edgar and a world class trainer in Nick Catone, basically helping guide you through your career.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, and also don't forget, I've these guys are helping me through my careers, but I also helped them respectively through theirs. I was Frankie Edgar's striking coach for the later end of his career, um, replacing Anderson Franca when he went to American Top Team in Florida. So I became his Muay Thai striking coach alongside Mark Henry. So I not only am I learning from these guys, but these guys were also taking a lot of information from me as well.
I mean, striking coach, were you also a sparring partner for somebody?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I sparred everybody. You name them, I sparred them. If it was somebody on the East Coast, if it was Marlon Moraes, Frankie Edgar. So some fun ones were I had to try to mimic Yair Rodriguez for Frankie Edgar, so that was fun, trying a lot of wild kicks. I had to mimic Aljamain Sterling for Marlon Moraes, which wasn't that fun because I was trying to shoot a lot, and Marlon spinning back kicked me in the face once. Um, and then I think my favorite one I ever had was I had to mimic Justin Gaethje for Eddie Alvarez. And I was the only person stupid enough to just walk at Eddie Alvarez with my hands glued to my temple and just try to kick his leg off. So it was a fun, terrifying camp. And Eddie actually said that the reason that he ultimately figured out to attack Justin Gaethje's body was because of the style that I was pushing on him in the gym. He was like, I can't. He's just gonna eat everything to the head. So then when Eddie started slugging me to the body, I had to slow down a little bit.
I mean, come to think of it, I wouldn't suggest anybody going up near Eddie Alvarez and think sparring with him was a good idea.
Yeah, let alone trying to mimic old school Justin Gaethje, max damage Justin Gaethje.
Understood, understood. But aside from your fight career, and then obviously, I hate to basically veer off the tracks just a bit, but you did say in the video putting yourself over to the rising fans that in addition to being a father of one, you're also a cat dad of three. Considering the chaos going on in this country right now, do you think that just being a fur dad has basically been helpful to keeping a level head, so to speak?
I would say it balances me out. Definitely. I mean, you can't take yourself too seriously. You know what I mean? You can't be this meathead cage fighter guy 24/7. You gotta embrace the other side of you. The cuddly cat dad. So you gotta kind of have it. It's a nice a blend of 50-50. Keeps me level, keeps me humble.
Understood. And aside from fighting and loving cats, I mean, you probably don't have too many hobbies, huh? I mean, if so, what are your go-to hobbies?
Oh, I mean, I definitely grill a lot. So I've been getting into, recently I kind of been trying to get off the grid in terms of buying my own produce. So I buy meat directly from a farmer and have a large chest freezer in my basement where I store half a pig and half a cow a year on average. Um, yeah, it's a lot. It's awesome. I'll pick up I just picked up like 120 pounds of beef about a week ago from a local farm called Baroda Farms here in Burlington, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually just started getting back into Pokemon cards recently. So one of my coaches is super into them. He does the whole collecting, PSA grading them, and all that stuff. So he actually can't make it to Japan, so he was asking me like, while you're there, can you please look for these promo cards? I need them badly. I was like, you got it. Send me a list. So it's just a fun little hobby now that I actually have a little bit of adult money to do some things that I want to do. And then from there, the usual stuff. I just play video games on Steam. Slay the Spire, you, Dave the Diver, League of Legends, Red Dead Redemption, some stuff like that.
I mean, that would probably disqualify me from saying if you even follow the Philadelphia sports scene, but different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Go Birds.
I
There you
mean,
go.
come to think of it, I figured you'd say that. I mean, I figured you'd follow the Phillies, Sixers.
Yeah, I'm 20 minutes from Philly, so I mean, do I follow them? No, and do I bandwagon aggressively when they're winning? Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course when they're winning, but if they lose, I've heard some shit before about Philly fans. They are loyal to the end.
Yeah, but it's no, if they lose, it's no sweat off my back. I'm a Wayfair fan. I come and go. I'm proud. I come and go. If they're up, I'm up. If they're down, I'm out. It's fine. No.
Of course.
I have no shame in my my lack of loyalty. It's fine.
Understood. Now, going back to regular questions about the fight card, of course. I mean, let's just say future goals, fight wise. I mean, would you say that having a great career is key to being a good fighter or becoming a world champion in a major promotion?
I guess different strokes for different folks. I mean, for me, I was never really happy with the way that my career went until last year, and then when I pulled off this pretty aggressive winning streak after my son was born, and then won the CFFC title, that was like, for me, like I know how good I am, and I know that I spent a lot of my career putting my own fight career on hold to help elevate other fighters to the UFC and the places that they wanted to go. I've spent hundreds of hours holding pads for Paul Felder. I spent a lot of time coaching Caitlin Chukagi and Sajara Eubanks. So I spent a lot of my prime of my career helping other fighters. And for me, winning the CFFC title at 35 years old against an undefeated 27-year-old, juggernaut powerhouse was kind of like my, my coup de grace, if you will, in the sense of like, see, I told you I was at that elite level and nobody really believed me. But, and they didn't really have any of I don't blame anyone for not assuming I was going to go anywhere because of, if you look at it from a statistics standpoint or on paper, at one point in my career, I was 7-5. And then in my last 9 fights, I'm going, I think 8-1 or 7-1.
Understood. I mean, it's basically the whole thing about, persevering.
Mm-hmm. I've just and again, I think I've known so many fighters who are so much better than me, who have wiped the walls with me in the gym, and then I go out there and do better than they do, or maybe I lost and they lost, but then I just kept going and I kept winning and I kept trying. So that's why I'm here and that's why I'm fighting and rising, because I deserve to be.
Now, let's just say if being a world-class fighter wasn't in the cards, obviously you're a fan of all this type of stuff, like getting rare Pokemon cards, just overall gaming, scoping the farmer's market, being a cat dad. But let's just say if fighting wasn't in your cards, what would be a way to have a good backup plan or plan B from your point of view?
So I'm gonna start my plan B after my fighting career. I want to get into voice acting.
You know what? I mean, that would be a good point. I mean, the only person out of there's only 2 people out of the area where you're from that have actually excelled at being a voice actor nowadays. I think one of them is Dallas Reed. The other is Emily Nevis. They're both from like upstate Pennsylvania and Philly respectively, but they're both like highly successful voice actors.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But
I'd love to pick one of their brains about stuff like that, about where to go once I'm done my fighting career. So,
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a few other. I mean, there's some places where you could go. I mean, D. Bradley Baker has a website called iwannabeavoiceactor.com.
okay.
Yeah, Steve Bloom has a site called Bloomvox Studios, BLUMVOX Studios. I mean, there's plenty of places where you could go to learn how to be a voice actor. It's just that you got to start somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
But still, though, I mean, that is great to basically have that voice acting aspiration because, let's just face it, if you go to Japan, end up basically going into the Harajuku district, you'll realize just the outright experience of just being, I mean, and for example, are you even an anime fan by any chance?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm really hardcore into Sentenced to Be a Hero right now. I'm actually absolutely loving that show. Um, and then my guilty pleasure is the I think it's called like cooking in a campfire cooking in another world, my absurd skill or something like that. Oh, it's such a good show. It's the main character just cooks a bunch of good food, suffers no adversity. Nobody's died in 2 seasons. Nobody's has a horrible upbringing. It's awesome. I'm loving it. It's super relaxing and enjoyable for me.
I mean, to be honest, I thought the series was called Farming Life in Another World or something. But
I I can't remember. It's called something. I don't know what the direct translation is, but yeah, he basically just cooks food and it's a good time. So
understood. But still, though, I
I'm
mean,
gonna, I'm actually gonna look it up now because it's gonna bother me if I don't say that correctly.
it's okay. But still, though, when it comes down to those aspirations, and I mean, I've been a fan of anime and voice acting probably since I was knee high to a grasshopper. But still, though, it's always great to have those creative passions basically put to good use. Especially if you want to expand your horizons.
Right. So, and it is called Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill.
I might need to search and check that out. I know it's probably only in sub form, but I will definitely try and
No,
check.
sub and a dub. It's on Crunchyroll. It's a good time.
Oh, okay. Most
It's
definitely.
it's
Yeah.
relaxing. Fun. It's a fun little isekai. So
Of course. But still though, going back to see, you got me all flustered about anime. I mean, me being a fan of it, that I almost forgot about asking about the fight. You know, just real quick, a couple more questions. When it comes down to what fight fans can expect from you facing off against Koyomi, what can fans hope to expect out of you just competing in Japan overall?
aggression and excitement. I'm going to. I feel like that. I, I feel like a couple of Japanese fans have said like Koyomi will be willing to like stink up this fight with a boring fight if it means he wins, and I am not going to let him do that. I would rather go out on my shield and get knocked out in an exciting fashion than win or lose a grindy, boring 15 minute snoozer. So that
Mhm.
gives you an idea of where my mindset is. I'm coming home with my shield or on it, one way or another. So
Understood. And let's just say, Koyomi, let's just say language barrier, of course. If Koyomi were to watch this, trying to translate into what these two gaijins are saying,
mm-hmm.
what would be a way to say to him, don't fuck around with me, be prepared for me?
Yeah, I would just say be ready and be in shape because I'm coming and I'm bringing the intensity and the fire for 15 minutes straight. So if you're not ready for it, it's gonna be a hot night.
Okay. And, I just want to give you an opportunity to put yourself over. If you got any shout outs, any social media plugs you would like to put out there, go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you to all of my friends, my family, my sponsors, my coaches. Wouldn't be possible without you guys, and I'm just looking forward to going and living my dream out in Japan.
Any social media?
Um, all of mine is at Ryan Cafaro MMA. I'm getting pretty popular on Twitter in Japanese right now, so go follow me there. I have a blue check over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they gonna probably learn how to say "Go Birds" and "Nihonjin" soon.
Yeah, that's the plan.
But still, though, one more thing when it comes down to this, let's just say, if you do have a successful performance in this Rising bout against Koyomi Matsushima, what is the expected time you would want to come back to Rising and compete again?
Um, in a perfect world, I would like to fight on the Rising card on New Year's.
You know what? That's the goal. I wouldn't mind seeing you compete on New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
especially.
love to fight at that one of those big like Tokyo domes where they sell like 40,000 seats. That's where I want to go.
I mean, come to think of it, I think they're gonna have that New Year's Eve card in Nagoya this year, not in Saitama, but still, though, it's gonna be epic.
I trust Ryzen with whatever they do. They, you know what I mean. They know how to make a spectacle out of a fight event. So,
of course they do. Not like how what certain promotions do right now, and they're basically just turning fights that were successful in front of 20,000 people into just
yeah. To them, money's money. It's a shame, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, but who gives a fuck about money when all you care about is not only the love of the fight game, but the passion and drive for it, you know?
Yeah.
But other than that, you can check out Ryan Cafaro versus Koyomi Matsushima at Rising 53 on May 10th from the G Lion Arena in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan. The event will be live on Ryzen.tv for $20 for the standalone event or $17 if you get the event through the Ryzen Premium Pass. But to be honest, if you're going to be in Philadelphia staying up, watching this man compete, I would hope that you do so realizing that you are going to see a future star in the making.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your support.